Okay, so hopefully you've been stitching right along. You've got all the hexagons, half hexagons, and triangles stitched, hopefully in there somewhere. You made a decision as to what stitch you were going to use. I did go ahead and do some comparison. And so these are both blanket stitched, these three actually. And this is whip stitched. Again, I think you may find whip stitch goes faster. I still haven't decided exactly how I'm going to finish mine yet, so I haven't stitched them all, but I'll come back at that. So again, let's see if we can get it a nice view. These two are, get my hand up under there better, whip stitched. And these two are blanket stitched. So again, I hope that you are finding it easy to decide what stitch you're going to opt for. Honestly, I'm leaning towards a whip stitch since I use it very seldomly, and I actually do like the look, but both are extremely appropriate. It just depends on which one you like the best, which one you're going to be happiest with, whether it's because it moves faster or you just think it looks better. We're going to move on and talk about these elongated hexagons for the shell apron. And I just want to give you some stitching strategy, so that's why we're singling that out to talk about. My stitching strategy for the apron, which is this outer portion of the shell, is to, one, remind you that when we placed them from the bottom, I'll get that in there, bottom up. But when you stitch them, I actually think it's more efficient to stitch them from the top down. If you've got a long enough piece of thread, meaning close to a full strand that you've pulled off of that hank, you should be able to completely stitch around one, tie a knot on the back, but they're so close together that you don't need to cut the thread, and then just come up and then stitch around another one. And then basically you're going to end up probably those two you can work in a pair, but then you'll just go on and stitch each one singly and then knot it off each time. So that I can work efficiently and stitch these two almost as a pair, I've come up through from the back through the middle of the one below it at that point. I'm going to give it a shot at whip stitching this and just see how I do. Oh, I did want to also show you what a whip stitch look like. This is what your blanket stitch looks like from the back. A lot of straight lines, but your whip stitch from the wrong side is diagonal lines. Where you see straight lines on the front, you see diagonal lines on the back. Some things I just think it's interesting to see what the back looks like, and that also helps you to know if you're on the right track or not. Okay, so as I said, I came up underneath that one. And this is a great place where you're using your thread to kind of as a road map. I know I want to come 1/4 of an inch in, and I like that to be fairly straight. So I'm going to go in there, and then I'm going to come up 1/4 of an inch away. Now, because these are overlaps, sometimes you might be stitching through the wool, and sometimes you're going to end up on the sand. And again, I'm trying out a whip stitch on this so that I can come to closure with what stitch I'm going to finally go with. And again, each time, so I can keep that straight, I'm using my thread as a guide. I'm laying it straight so it'll keep me straight, and it just kind of gives me an idea of where to go back in. Still seems to kind of maintain the same. I think on these, on the short sides, we're going to have 2 straight stitches. And on these longer sides, it'll be 3, just like it was with a regular hexagon, if that helps you plan it out or get a little bit quicker momentum because you know what you're doing or what you're after. So you'll just put that on repeat, whether you're using a blanket stitch. Right now I'm trying out a step, a whip stitch on this edge. Again, short end, I think I'm getting 2. And actually they're all short sides. It's longer because it's got the way the points are, but they all seem to be short sides. So it looks like I'm getting 2, and then I'm getting 1 at either the soft point or at the hard point right there. All right, so happy stitching. You actually have 19 of those between the 8 on each side and the 2 for the tail. It's going to keep you a little bit busy, I think. So we will see you back. I believe we'll be into step 8, stitching down some of the other portions of the sea turtle. So happy stitching. Keep it going. And we'll see you when you've got, again, at this point then, by the time you finish all of step 7, let me turn it this way so you can actually see it, you will have stitched all of the hexagons, half hexagons, triangles, and then the elongated hexagons of the turtle. Deciding whether you're going to use that whip stitch or blanket stitch. Personal decision on the visual or the aesthetics of the project. And I'll see you back for step 8, some of the other goodies.